I have the greatest admiration for this next group. They've been with us many times, and I always look forward to seeing them. They basically single-handedly reinvented interest in many of the string band forms of music here in New Mexico. It used to flourish, and not so much anymore, but they're bringing it back. If this is the first time you've heard them, you're in for a treat. I promise you that. Please give a very warm special welcome to our good friends, Lorne Piñon.
Chistos.
Es el baile más famoso, pues lleva compás más fino y su cantar es hermoso. Baile con olores, flores, lleno de luz, emociones, en donde los bailadores se entregan los corazones, en donde los bailadores se entregan los corazones. Cuando en la pampa bailamos, tú me entregaste en sí. Por eso siempre gritamos, ¡viva San Luis Potosí! Venimos de raza azteca, raza valiente divina. ¡Qué linda nuestra Huasteca, la Huasteca potosina! ¡Qué linda nuestra Huasteca, la Huasteca potosina!
We say we're a project dedicated to traditional music. We do it on our own terms and in our own way. We try to find our own relationships to the tradition in a way that's meaningful and authentic. Because that's, I think, the benefit of getting to work with people in these past generations. They have such deep authenticity. They were doing something that was spontaneous and sincere and real for them that had never been done. How I would describe the group is that we're trying to find our place in our modern society and do it in a way that's authentic. A big part of what encouraged us to stick with the project and made it really keep going was we started seeing how, because we were playing all the time and had the chance to play it for hours and hours, that was changing our relationship to it. And listening to it a lot and playing it a lot, it became not just like this abstract thing that you're trying to do right, but the music itself kind of starts showing us, like, it started, instead of us learning it, it was teaching us how to play it. The advantage of working as musicians, you know, that it's not just an abstract thing, but we're doing it so much. In each situation, the music is different and behaves differently, and we have to play differently. And I think we saw after a while, it's like, whoa, not only you learn the language, but you start learning the accent too, and then you start developing your own voice. And then older people started responding to us and saying, that's it, that's what we do, that's what we remember. And that was so exciting and encouraging, you know, and then we realized, oh, we can do that with other styles too. started working on wapangos at first, and had help from Juan Rivera, who's a great fiddle player in Chicago. And then to have him say, "Oh, that's it. You guys, that's where you're doing it." You know, they kind of guide you and encourage you on the right places when you're doing what resonates with them. We saw that the system kind of works. You can actually learn it and develop really meaningful connections by playing it all the time. And we've kind of gone from there and expanded it.
Where we did some of the recording for some of these tunes, my grandma's house, my dad's house in the back, my wife and I built a tiny home back there. Lived in it for a while till we were able to get money to buy something of our own, but that land, that's everything to us. It's been passed on for generations since the first people came over, the Spanish got here. At the time, they gave you long, narrow strips of land from the Sandia Mountains and to the Rio Grande, and that was it. And that was the family's land, and it was a bunch of orchards. And we've been there. My uncle and my aunts and my father built homes there, and they live there still. If you ask my grandma, it's the most beautiful place in the world. And even this morning, before we did this, me and my brother, we butchered a pig over there in the back, and I went and knocked on the door. My grandpa has been kind of sick lately, and he was all dressed up. And he says, "I'm going to church at 7 in the morning. You guys do what you have to do." He still has his animals. He's 86, gets up every day, goes out, feeds the animals, pushes us away from them. That's his world, and I'm blessed, man, because I got to grow up there, and it helped me keep in touch with a part of my roots. And the music and the community and everything, it all plays into each other. It's all connected.
say running out of caution tape, you got another
I brought a roll. I brought it just in case we need it, brother.
Don't mess around, brother.
Just in case we need it, brother. That shit goes quick. You use it once and you're done. You
Yeah.
know, the roll don't last.
There's no really saving it, no.
Come on, you want that stick?
You know what, brother? We'll put it on the backhoe.
Yeah.
We'll leave it in that little toolbox.
You got enough? We're gonna make it. Yes, sir.
That's right. See
You
there?
take this. I'll buy another roll and I'll keep it at the house just in case we need it. There it is. Done deal.
We grew up a family of farmers. My great-grandpas, they grew gardens, lush gardens. That's what they did. They worked in it. My grandfather, he did all these fields. He always grew alfalfa. That's what we grew up doing. It's not like that now. When I was a kid, the ditches that was the highway. Those were our roads. Like, the people drove on the roads, but we went to see our cousins. You go down the ditch, you go down here. We grew up on the ditch. We learned how to fight there. We learned how to play guitar there. And that ditch right back there where you guys were watering, that's a life form. My dad worked for the water department, so he's really in it. My brother followed him in that path. Being a kid, it was always like, okay, they're gonna go water. My grandpa would go water, and we'd always be pulling bales. You know, it's just a part of who we are.
Right here, about 4 or 5 inches is plenty of water for what we're going to be doing over there.
Where I'm at, there's the main ditch that runs here, and then my grandpa and grandma are here, and then my dad's place and my auntie and my uncle and my auntie and uncle, we're all down the road, and that ditch runs all the way, and we clean that ditch for years, you know, we still do. We grew up there at the house off the chum. You saw a lateral there, and me and my brother and my neighbor, we'd catch 5-gallon buckets full of crawdads, just walking back and forth with the tumbleweed for hours. That was our entertainment, man. It was our whole life. We didn't have internet when I was growing up. You know, that was it. It was okay. Go play, have fun. Don't fall in the ditch. La Llorona's gonna get you. Don't get in the water.
Now we shut this one down, it'll just build up that pressure and start pushing into that one. Here you can see it coming in.
My dad, you know, he grew up very old school, and it was community, based upon community and helping out, and that's what he did. And I grew up that way too, because his buddies would come over, and it was like whatever we had going on, we'd do. So my dad's a blue collar guy. He works hard his whole life. It's all he's ever done is just work, bust his ass. And so his big dream when we were kids was to buy a backhoe. That was like his dream. He's like, I'm gonna buy my own backhoe one day, because, you know, they call a shovel a dummy stick. So if you're in that world and you buy a tractor, you're the man. That's a massive gig. That's like me saying, all I want to do is do this badass gig somewhere, and that's my dream. And so he did. So he eventually was able to accomplish that. The old gravedigger, his name was Quirino. He was from the neighborhood. He was a mean old guy, and he passed away. And then there was like that void in the community. So someone, I forget who the first one was. I was young. They came over and said, "Hey Dennis, you know, there's my father died, or whoever it was, and would you go dig a grave for it? And how much do you charge?" And he's like, "I'll do it, but I'm not going to charge you anything. So just if you give me a couple bucks for gas or whatever, that's fine. But I'm not going to charge you." And so word started spreading, and then it just became the thing. But he still had his community of his buddies and his people, so he'd go back and, okay, call Joe Goodlay, call Hank, call our buddy Brother Ben, who it might have been Brother Ben's grave we were digging that day. It's hard for me to remember. There's been so many people have passed away in the past couple of years. We'd all get together and hang out. He'd call me or my brother, and we'd go do it. We'd go hop him, and the people would come, and they'd be so thankful, and we've done a lot of them.
It's cost me money. I've never made no money on that.
A lot of work and a lot of hours.
I'll tell you what, and everybody wants their hay cut right now. You cut it, rake it, bale it, and then they go to pay. They never pay. Roland said, "Well, you got to sell the hay to pay you." Well, that wasn't our deal. You needed it done yesterday.
That sucks.
That's just the way it is. You know how it goes, man. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, that ain't worth the shit.
You know, that's just the way it is, bro.
That pisses you off right there.
It's hard. It's a hard deal. Then you have an equipment breakdown, and
That's right. That's what he said.
you just can't get the parts. Sometimes you got to order them, and man, that sets you back 4 or 5 days. It's a pain, man.
And you need a hell of a lot of equipment too.
You got to have good equipment, then you got to have some
You gotta have a
older.
lot of it, bro.
You know what,
Freaking-
Jonah did a little check this one out. Oh, dang.
Gracias a la vida, bro.
Music was always an escape after a 60-hour work week, so it was always a way to stay sane. Every day I wake up and I think about gigs, and sometimes they stress me out, or you look at the calendar and there's holes, or you're like, I don't want to do this today, or I got to drive to Santa Fe, or whatever it is. And then it's like, I just got to glance over at the mantle and see prayer cards of my friends that I grew up with that are dead, and it's like, no, this the other option is that sometimes, you know. I'm not a scholastic guy. I didn't even make it through high school or anything like that, so Santa Cecilia, my girl. That's Santa Cecilia. She's my homegirl.
Patron saint of music.
Patron saint
The
of
goddess
music.
of gigs.
The goddess of gigs. The priestess of pizzicato.
Busy in the middle.
Put the busy in the busy, son.
What song is this?
Juan Charasqueado.
Okay, ready.
I grew up in Santa Fe, and I grew up Catholic, and was a practicing Catholic for a lot of my life. And there's something really special to me about the mission churches in New Mexico, because they're very humble, and they don't feel like they happen by accident, and they also feel like a community gathering. So I was going to San Miguel Mission for that reason. I was very interested in the very earliest history of Santa Fe. So the San Miguel Mission is a mission church which stands on top of the ruins of an indigenous sacred spot. So when the Spanish came to New Mexico, they brought indigenous people from Mexico, and I don't know if you guys know which people it was.
I think they were Tlaxcalas. It feels like it's interesting space because it's been there so long that it like has all the complications of New Mexico and this place, and like all the conflicts and histories, and also all like the mysticism and spirituality are all present there.
And you can like open trap doors and look down.
They put
like,
a trap door with plexiglass so you
Yeah.
can see down like the ruins of the original site.
To play in that space, which used to be a sacred space where I used to have to go to church, and where my grandfather went to church, and where my great uncle went to church, and thinking also about what that church stands on top of and how complex it is. And to be dancing a polka in a church, it felt like the right mixture of like irreverent and perfect reverence. Like it reclaimed for me the space as not just like an institutional church space, but like a community space. And that, you know, like in all of my complexity as a human in this place and in my own culture, like I belonged there, and it was right to be there and do that thing.
Voy a contarles un corrido mal inventado
find so important about culture is what we decide to remember. Because, you know, like, it's always been a big mess. Like, you're always going through hardships and good times, famine and feast, friends and foes, you know, like, shit is happening chaotically and without any kind of meaning, but we're making the meaning as we look back and as we look around ourselves. And to sit and listen to something that, you know, isn't really old or is old and is also not old at the same time, I think allowed me a lot of perspective, and it also allowed me the space to imagine. And I think one of the interesting things about violin was that right away it opened my eyes to a lot of things, because I've always felt so super at home in New Mexico, and I felt really, really content about being New Mexican and being northern New Mexican, and I know where I'm from, and I know what this land is like, and what we do when we're from here. But I also was really interested in, like, well, what's out there? Like, what do those people do? And violin was one way that I was able to access those things. So right away, at the very, you know, I was really little, I was like in 3rd grade. And right away I was able to start listening to, like, anything I could get my hands on that had violin. And I think the benefit of starting so young was that I didn't have ideas about mine and theirs. You know, anything I heard that had violin, I was like, great, that's mine, because I play violin.
Northern New Mexico music is all dance music, you know, it's different genres for different dances. When the dancing starts, the music starts functioning in a totally different way, and it starts making sense in a way that it doesn't make sense as a performance music. People think, oh, you're playing this old music, but actually it's just music that is continually renewed. Yeah. So it wasn't old when they were playing it in the 1920s or in the 1820s. It was
fresh.
It was fresh and spontaneous. We're trying to continue that experience.
It happens to be now that the people we learn from happen to be old. They didn't learn it. They didn't say, oh, I just turned 75, I'm going to go ahead and learn how to play a schottisch. It's like, no, it's what they grew up with, and unfortunately...
And there's been huge disruption.
Huge
cultural disruption.
Massive.
And it's interesting to be on the other end of, like, okay, well, how do we find the people who know how to dance or who are willing to dance and want to teach the dances? And a lot of the people who remember these dances are really old. People who want to dance can dance. People who want to listen to music have a really engaging live band right there to listen to. People who are just there to socialize are also having fun.
What you're going to do is you're going to start with 4 slow steps going in. 1, 2, 3, and then bounce out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and again.
You know, we listen back to old recordings, like it's like in the Chulas Fronteras DVD. Flaco Jimenez is Jordan's age. He's young, he's teaching his son to play accordion. And we see, and we look at that and we go, well, look at this old vintage film. But at the time, it was just this. It was just, hey, this is what I'm doing, and I got a gig, and I got to go, and I got my kids, and I got, you know, and it's a stamp in time. And you reference it back and you date it, but really, it's sort of timeless. I thought of this too, Jordan, like if we were like came around like 20 years later, you know, maybe we wouldn't have Tomas, and we wouldn't have like Reyes and Cordy, and we wouldn't have the people that give us that connection, you know, to the past. So hopefully we can keep doing this, and then down the line, the next crop of people that find it, and however they get to it, and we can say, hey, yeah, well, remember this? Oh yeah,
yeah.
You play your mandolin like Tomas used to play, man. You put a couple extra beats in there or whatever, you know. But,
Hey Tomas,
what's up, bro?
how's it going?
Working with Tomas has been awesome. We've learned a lot of tunes with him, and also just he is one of the youngest guys in the cohort of all the old musicians, you know. So he was around and has tons of stories about all the old musicians and the dances and stuff. And each tune that comes up, he'll know something about it, you know, and like explain and fit it into the puzzle. Do you remember any songs that you played?
I don't remember all the songs, you know.
Yeah, I wonder whatever it was popular. That.
Oh, like Ranchy and.
Oh yeah.
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 What did you play?
Oops, all over.
But what did you play the guitar?
I used to play guitar, yeah.
Oh, cool.
And then the bass también, electric bass. What's that?
It's your fault that I play with them, because I wanted to play with them and I was all shy, and you were like, no, they're nice. So then I got the courage to be like, can I play with you guys?
I'm like, oh, if you smoke this joint.
No, I couldn't possibly.
I don't know about much at all. It's a celebratory, just like the.
Oh yeah, they do it for
Wedding.
weddings. That's how the bride and groom come in. So, like a long snaking dance with couples.
They do some bridges.
Usually, like the madrinos bring the couple in, and they're at the beginning of the line, and there are bridges, and people go under bridges, and you go back.
Spiral.
Everybody couple dances. You gotta get back into the
Back in the day, didn't they actually go march all the way from the church to where they were gonna party?
Yeah, some places still doing that.
Yeah. With that, so they might have to walk like a mile.
Yeah.
I remember one, La Cañada de Salamo. I remember a wedding that we had to walk like, forget it. Do a marathon before you get there.
I think being involved in traditional music really changes the way you relate to a place. The music can take you into like a deeper level of what's always been there and continues to be there. When I came to New Mexico, I felt like I missed that and wanted to be more in that world. New Mexico style of dance music. It's a branch of Mexican music, but it's also a branch of Midwestern music. I grew up in Missouri, in Columbia, Missouri, which is like a Midwestern college town. I grew up in an environment with like no music. When I was a kid, I didn't really know about it, but it was like the tail end of this huge explosion of traditional music in Missouri, and like kind of a golden age of the regional styles of fiddling, where a musical language evolved with really deep integrity and power, and there were lots of masters playing it. Started playing music just at the end of that, so I was aware of it and got to play with musicians who had been a part of it and told me all about the rest. And I think I didn't really see that reflected in the cultural environment around me. And then on the other side of my family's Jewish, and we had like a different language and customs and everything, and had lost the language. So there's a way of not really fitting in. And I was thinking the other day how like the first time I heard other languages and these musical languages, it represented to me like a chance for you to change the way that you think and you process things. That spoke to me a lot more than anything else I had access to. And it's also because it was so uncommon in Missouri, gave you a chance to rebel against kind of the status quo and conformity and assimilation, and use music to break out of that. And also it felt like creating another alternative of another way of being and another way of thinking.
tan engañoso, ay, qué mundo tan engañoso, que a todos nos da orgullo. Como eres tan cauteloso, nos formas un desbarullo para tirarnos al pozo, para tirarnos al pozo, como dueño de lo tuyo. No se tuerza cuando está tierna la luna, pero a mí no me hace fuerza, yo me atengo a mi fortuna, porque he visto que el que almuerza, porque he visto que el que almuerza no se acuerda del que ayuna. Pero yo les digo que no, porque si aún fuera grande, desde aquí la viera yo. Solamente Dios es grande, solamente Dios es grande, porque es Él quien la formó.